Boo! Did I scare you? Okay, fine. I'll just get into this. I was walking through the grocery store the other day and I saw some Halloween candy, and it put me in the mood to play some scurry games. And I decided to take a trip down memory lane. I saw a classic in my library and I decided to reminisce over it. That classic being Condemned Criminal Origins. So Criminal Origins was a game released like 20 years ago, but it still stands the test of time, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. But this intro is definitely stretching longer than most, so let's just grab the popcorn and hop right into everything. Okay, now, yes, I know this video is a little bit out of the blue, and the game we're talking about today is, well, pretty old, but that doesn't mean we can't remember an absolute classic and talk about Condemned Criminal Origins. Now, I bet a good number of you already know about this absolute gem, but Criminal Origins is a first-person psychological horror game released back in 2005, yeah, like 20 years ago, and it was released on the Xbox 360 and the PC. The game had a great story, pretty decent graphics for the time, and some really cool mechanics, in the end bringing in a good amount of fans to the series. Well, to the two games. But Criminal Origins was developed by Monolith and published by Sega, and released back in November of 2005. Like right after the release of the Xbox 360, taking advantage of all the new technical features. And as I said, Condemned is a psychological horror thriller game that focused more on the psychological, having only a few jump scares here and there, but leaning more heavily on the environments, sound design, and overall tension building to make you feel more on edge while entering every new room. The design of the game is just great, but I will double back to that in a second. With all of this though, I will add in that Condemned Criminal Origins was made in the age of movie tie-in games, and Criminal Origins is not left out, being packed with big name actors and following a story that actually was going to tie into a movie. In the end of the day though, that movie was cancelled and all we got was a sequel that was never even released on PC, so like, wah, womp womp I guess. But I'm yapping, let's actually get into the gameplay, this, that, all in a day's work, and all in this video. So, swerving over to the gameplay, Monolith wanted to make a horror game that felt new and felt different to the horror games at the time, with them wanting a first-person shooter playstyle, with melee combat feeling just as satisfying as usual gunplay. Swinging nightsticks and 2x4s while running through dark alleyways and decrepit warehouses. All the while noticing amazing sound design as you listen to every rock you step on and every breath you take. But for what you find yourself fighting with in Criminal Origins, so you do have your usual firearms, pistols, shotguns, rifles, but the guns are not supposed to be the focus of the combat. As I said earlier, the developers wanted a first-person playstyle, but wanted satisfying melee. So when it comes to the guns, you only get the ammo already in it, and once blasting whatever gun's empty, you flip them around and smash away until they break. But even if the guns aren't the focus of the combat, it is always lucky finding one, and they do their fair share of damage. The melee though, that is where it's at. Find axes, crowbars, baseball bats, or if you're in a pinch, pull some pipes or some rebar out of the wall and fight with that. You will also be cycling through weapons quite frequently, whether your weapons break, or maybe you need a new tool to get past an obstacle like axes and crowbars. And with all the weapons, each has its own stats like damage and speed, so you might want to swap with the next best thing. And then, on to who you are using these weapons on, well, you pretty much primarily fight homeless people in this game. Yes, I know there are other enemies, but the majority are literally just homeless people hopped up on something, lurking around in the shadows of just about every building in Metro. Off of the combat though, and onto some tools you'll use aside from weapons. So you being a detective in the story, you actually also have a full set of gear to use while doing investigations and while investigating crime scenes. Things like blacklight scanners and your camera to send photographs to the forensic teams. And, I really like all of the investigations. They kind of remind me of the Arkham Batman games. Other than that, though, it is pretty much your average first-person horror game, but that really wasn't anything we'd seen at the time. Sure, we did have, FPS horror, but Criminal Origins just did it so well, and they added a lot in that most games didn't. And then on the side of graphics, too, you may be looking now and saying, dang, that's pretty bad. But think back to 2005, because this game's looking pretty well for its time, and the game did get a lot of praise for things like textures and lighting being, as I said, ahead of its time. And I do really agree. I mean, every time I replay, I am blown away that this is a 2005 game, even if the character models do look a little clunky in my opinion. Then again, as I like to say, just check it out for yourself. You're looking at it, you decide what you think. With that though, I think I just about summed up the gameplay and graphics, so why don't I just shift everything over to the story that I enjoy playing so much. And moving into the story, yes, I will address, I know the story did not get as much praise as gameplay or graphics, as people thought the story could have been better. In my opinion, though, I actually really enjoyed the story. I'm kind of upset that we didn't get the movie, because I would have loved to see where everything went with that, if they tied it in completely, continued the story, or maybe they just went on. I don't know. I enjoyed the story, so let's just get into that. So, as I said, in the age of movie tie-in games, this was a movie tie-in, but the writing, in my opinion, was also movie-like writing, and even had some pretty big-name actors involved. But, as plot goes, you are a detective for the FBI, so I guess you're an agent, not a detective, but you are a part of the Special Crimes Unit stationed in the fictional city of Metro, being based off of Seattle. Creative naming though, Metro. I've seen that in comics too. I think Metro is like the unobtainium of city names. I don't know, but you are Ethan Thomas, a man with a supernatural ability to sense killers' next move, making him one of the best agents on his team. You, though, are sent to investigate a homicide within a derelict abandoned building. While you are there, a criminal jumps you, steals your pistol, and then kills 2 officers, pushing you out of a window. You wake up at home with a strange man explaining that, he was an old family friend and you are now wanted for homicide. The man, being Malcolm Van Horn, was now the only man you can trust and sends you on the run. Soon after, you get a call from Rosa, working in the forensics for the FBI and helping Ethan on previous cases. She says she knows about the killings, but doesn't think that it is him. So I guess you can trust her too. You head to the nearby metro station, ironic metro station in Metro, but you find another crime scene, this time the victim being the matchmaker, another notorious serial killer. This is where Ethan and Rosa have the breakthrough that the Killer X, as he's been named, has been going around hunting other serial killers. And then after trudging through every different abandoned building you can find, you finally catch the serial killer X. Then Van Horn, the one guy who you can trust, ironically attacks you, and you learn that Leland is the name of that Killer X, and he is the nephew of Malcolm Van Horn. And then he attacks Van Horn. It does get a little convoluted, I'm kind of realizing that. But you wake up and Van Horn suddenly tells you of the elusive man with the implants, and that he is the cause of Metro's violence and evilness. Evil. You go out searching some more, eventually finding this elusive implant man, and you tear his implants out. Soon after, you think everything is over and Van Horn is taking you home, and you find Leland in the trunk. Pulling your pistol on him, you are left with the decision to shoot or not to shoot. No matter the decision, Leland ends up dead, and you are able to clear your name with Rose's help. Then as the game finishes, Ethan goes into the bathroom, feeling a little sick. He vomits, then notices the same implants growing in his mouth, and the game ends with questions. Probably questions that were going to be answered in the movie tie-in, which is honestly why I wanted to see where they were going with it, to see what happened to Ethan, to see what the implant man, all of that, see what happened with Malcolm. Who knows what would have happened with that story in the movie and everything. I do know that the game got a sequel, Condemned 2 Bloodshot, where the story does continue. I wonder if they just transferred the story of the movie into another game. I don't know. I'll look into that a little more. I'll throw that on screen if they did or did not. The story, in my opinion, does get a little convoluted, but it is just amazing, and playing through it, it feels like you're playing through a movie, especially seeing some of the actors and hearing some of the voices, and I just think that it goes along with the graphics, it goes along with the gameplay, and even though the reception for the story was not the best and was not that good compared to the other aspects of the game, to me, it was a good 7.5, 8 out of 10 story, and that's not that bad for me. And speaking of reception, when looking at the reception, things look pretty okay. It got some 8 out of 10s, it got some 7 out of 10s, a couple 6s, but overall, the reception was pretty good. It got a couple of awards, and as I said, some thought the story was convoluted. I didn't really agree until I read through my notes and I realized, yes, the story is a little bit convoluted, but, some criticized the length, some criticized, I don't know. Most enjoyed most aspects of the game, though. And I can only ramble on about a 20-year-old game for so long. I'm losing my mind, so I think I'm going to wrap everything up with some final thoughts. As I've said multiple times, I really enjoyed the game incredibly. I got it a few years ago, played it a few times, and I've loved it each time. I really enjoy the story, the ending, and the other plot holes they leave you wondering what's going on. I want to play Condemned 2, but I don't want to pull my Xbox 360 out. I don't want to emulate it. I wish they brought it to PC, but that is okay. And I do, as I also said, wish we could have gotten the movie. I guess that's lost hope. The movie is probably never going to come out 20 years. Yeah, no way, but... And yeah, I don't know why I'm making this vid. I saw that Halloween candy, wanted to play some horror games. I played some Resident Evil, played some Condemned, played some Cry of Fear. Maybe I should make a video on Cry of Fear. That's a pretty cool game. But, this is a classic game. Great story, fun gameplay. It is worth the play. And yes, I wish Bloodlines came to the PC, but I'm pretty sure that was a pretty cool game too. And I wonder if we will ever see any more Condemned media in the future. Who knows? This video is stretching on, and I think I will just end things there. But I do want to hear all of your thoughts on Condemned Criminal Origins, even Condemned 2 Bloodshot. Let's hear all of your thoughts on the games, the series, and this video in the comments now. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, why not hit that like and throw a sub the channel's way to stay up to date on everything to come. And speaking of everything to come, if you want to support more videos like this, plus get videos up to a day early, and get your name at the end of future videos, come on, be the first name. Well, you might not be the first name anymore. I'm just trying to get that first name up there so you could be like, I'm like that first name. If you want to support the channel, check out a membership to the channel now by pressing that little join button below. But as usual, do not feel pressured. All of the likes, all of the support is plenty. I love you all. It's not weird. And lastly, head over to BillyTheWhip on any music platform now to hear all of the home cooked jams that I've created over the years. They might not be the best, but it's me, and that's pretty cool, as I always say. But now that we're here, I just want to say thank you all for the amazing support. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. Yeah.
The flames growing, flow water is flowing, no paddle still rowing, can't reap without sowing, ain't no cut without mowing, ain't loaning no tricks, holding my hand in